Construction to remove cancer? Crazy as this may seem, this is a reality for residents living in Bethpage, New York. Residents have had to deal with a 6-square-mile toxic plume underground that has poisoned their water supply for decades. In recent years, Grumman, the aerospace company responsible for the toxification, has faced legal action and now has slowly began what seems to be a very long cleanup process. There is currently construction being done here as a part of the U.S. Navy's environmental cleanup program. The construction started here on January 6th of this year. The current construction is to test the groundwater, more specifically the current contamination levels of the water supply. The plume has had a long history of contamination, including carcinogens and contamination with a chemical known as trichloroethylene, also known as TCE, which when overexposed to has been known to significantly increase cancer risk. It has been reported that the water in Bethpage is pre-treated with this chemical at thousands of levels above state drinking water standards. The New York Department of Environmental Conservation is currently in charge of cleanup efforts here, and in a recent video, they spoke about their plans. Take a look.
Thanks to a historic consent decree, DEC's Division of Environmental Remediation is working to protect public health, the environment, and hold Northrop Grumman accountable for costs to clean up decades of soil and groundwater contamination.
The state's cleanup plan was specifically designed to protect the Bethpage community now and into the future.
I had the chance to speak with one of the local residents, Connor Mercer, who has grown up here. He spoke about he and his family's lived experience and not so coincidental cancer battles.
The Bethpage plume has had several effects on my family and my friends. We've had to install water filters in the house, not just on the taps, but in the pipes. And I know several people who have developed cancer, including several pets.
Cleanup efforts being done now after so many years of waiting leaves a sense of pain even in this victory, with many residents like Connor still afraid to even drink out of their own faucets, afraid that they'll be diagnosed with cancer in the future, or afraid that those loved ones around them who've already been diagnosed may not make it. And is this really all that can be done to help residents right now? Can there be more done in a quicker fashion to help residents right now instead of having them wait another decade or so to calm their fears? Reporting from Oceanside, New York, I'm Mark Friedman. Thank you for watching. It's been 5 years since the world went into lockdown because of COVID-19. In April of last year, when most countries were still tracking COVID deaths, it was reported then that over 7 million people had died from the virus and its effects worldwide. COVID-19 hit on March 15th of 2020. Lockdowns were in full effect, people were wearing masks full time, staying 6 feet apart from one another, and living in fear for their lives. Vaccines by Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson were developed and given to the public in late 2021. Most of us had assumed that this was the beginning of the end to this shared nightmare. Unfortunately for many, the nightmares are far from over. COVID still persists with great impacts to many. About 6% of Americans to date have been diagnosed and struggle with long COVID, which is about 18 million Americans. And what exactly is long COVID? Well, Dr. Fauci, the chief medical advisor to the president during COVID, explained what long COVID looks like.
So what is long COVID? Next slide. It's a constellation of signs and symptoms characterized by those shown on this slide, particularly extreme fatigue, unexplained shortness of breath, muscle aches, dysautonomia, which is temperature dysregulation or unexplained tachycardia, sleep disturbances, depression and anxiety, and what referred to as brain fog or inability to concentrate.
So many people each day are diagnosed with long COVID, and many more are struggling to get the formal diagnosis, as finding healthcare physicians who are familiar or well-equipped for long COVID is very difficult. There is a staggering link between long COVID and the COVID vaccine in correlation with POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. This is a heart condition that affects approximately 30% of patients with long COVID. Symptoms of POTS include palpitations, fatigue, brain fog, migraines, muscle weakness, and that's just to name a few. This impact hits close to home for so many on Long Island, including local resident Carly Paldino. Carly is a 27-year-old Long Island native who has been struggling with her diagnosis from long COVID. I sat down with Carly to ask her about her diagnosis and the struggles she faces from day to day.
At first it was really frustrating because I would go to the doctor and I would be like, I really am not feeling well. I'm like having really bad fatigue. I noticed I couldn't even like walk from like across a parking lot from the car to a store. I would always be hot. I would have issues with like maintaining a normal temperature and things like that. I would go to the doctor and be like, hey, I'm really not feeling well. And I would get all this blood work and they would just tell me, like, you're fine. But I knew I wasn't fine. So I had to continue, like, seeing different doctors. And when I went to the cardiologist, I was able to get, like, solid proof that something was wrong with me. And then I was diagnosed with long COVID.
Carly is just one of many people on Long Island struggling with long COVID. I also sat down with another Long Island native, Maureen Friedman, who is a mother of a child with long COVID. Take a look.
My son having long COVID has been a great effect on my family. It's been hard to adjust watching Matthew not be the same person he used to be, not attaining the milestones in his high school life because of long COVID striking him at 17. So it's been very difficult on the family. And we all take turns just checking on him or taking him places or making sure he has what he needs, and also for doctor's appointments as well. So we all try to work as a team to try to help Matthew so that he can be successful in life.
While COVID may have started half a decade ago, its impacts are still strong and long-lasting. There is a clear link between long COVID and the heart condition POTS, with many people across the United States, including here on Long Island, being diagnosed every day. With this field of research being so new and so many people being affected, it is clear that there needs to be more funding and research to help those struggling with long COVID. Reporting from Oceanside, New York, I'm Mark Friedman. Thank you for watching. Residents and local business owners on Long Island continue to struggle with increased grocery prices and high inflation, food shortages, and much more. President Trump won this past election largely on his campaign promise to lower the cost of everyday grocery prices for Americans and alleviate the impact felt on their wallets. However, locals on Long Island and across the United States are worried as President Trump has proposed new tariffs that could skyrocket prices higher than ever before. Donald Trump has been adamant on imposing new tariffs on imported goods from other countries. In an official statement from the White House, the administration stated that President Trump is, quote, implementing a 25% additional tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico and a 10% additional tariff on imports from China. These tariffs have many people across America worried, and rightfully so, as these new tariffs could mean soaring prices at the grocery store. I sat down with a local grocery store manager, Dominic, from Associated Supermarkets of Rockville Center, where he spoke about the impact he has seen.
Over the last year, I'd say in general people are buying a lot less. Probably what we're seeing in this store, about 10% less. Every customer that comes in might buy half an item less. Maybe with an average of like 7 to 10 items, but over the course of an entire week and all the customers that come in, it does add up. I think really people are being a lot more conscious of what they're buying. A lot of people are going to multiple stores looking for sales and kind of stretching out that process of how long it takes to buy groceries, even though it's a pretty tedious task. They have to do it to get what's affordable for them and kind of match their needs.
After speaking with Dominic, I had the chance to speak with Yvonne Simons, a local from Smithtown, Long Island, who has seen a large increase in her grocery prices.
I'm only one person, and I've noticed that in the last year, the groceries have gotten more and more expensive. And now with the bird flu, my eggs are more and more expensive. I think I would say I used to spend maybe $200 a month. Now it's gone maybe double. And like I said, I'm only one person.
Residents, local grocery store owners, and community alike are all in agreement. These new tariffs pose a large threat to being able to survive. Donald Trump on April 9th announced a 90-day pause on these tariffs, excluding China, which has a 10% tariff currently in effect. It is unclear at this time if these tariffs will come to fruition in July, as President Trump has been flip-flopping on his stance, which only further adds to the stress locals are feeling due to the unknown. But what is clear is that people here on Long Island, like Yvonne, already struggle to afford their grocery bills, and those tariffs could leave many like Yvonne unable to afford their bills, more stressed, and even left skipping meals. Reporting from Oceanside, New York, I'm Mark Friedman.